The Golconda Fort. One of India's most iconic and historically rich monuments, is not just famous for its architectural marvels and ancient history but also for the eerie, unsettling atmosphere that envelopes the fort at night. Towering over the Deccan Plateau, Golconda Fort has witnessed battles, betrayals, and brutal deaths over its 500-year history. But it's the stories of unexplained phenomena, mysterious apparitions, and restless spirits that have led to its reputation as one of the most haunted places in India. The dark, winding corridors, abandoned royal chambers, and deserted dungeons are said to be home to supernatural entities that linger long after the sun has set. The walls of this magnificent fort are believed to echo with the screams, whispers, and footsteps of the past, creating an atmosphere that has terrified visitors and even the fort's night watchmen for centuries. The roots of Golconda Fort's ghostly reputation lie in the many tragic stories that have unfolded within its walls. Once the seat of the powerful Qutb Shahi dynasty, the fort saw intense political intrigue, battles for power, and personal betrayals that ended in violent deaths. These unresolved stories of love, deceit, and greed are believed to have trapped the souls of those who died under mysterious or tragic circumstances within the confines of the fort. One of the most famous ghost stories associated with Golconda Fort is that of Taramati, the beautiful and talented courtesan whose spirit is believed to haunt the fort even today. Taramati was the favorite dancer of Sultan Abdullah Qutb Shah, the seventh ruler of the Qutb Shahi dynasty. She was not only known for her beauty but also for her incredible singing voice, which, according to legend, could be heard all the way from her pavilion, the Taramati Baradari, at the foot of the fort to the Sultan's palace at the top of the hill. Her love affair with the Sultan ended in tragedy. While some stories suggest that Taramati was betrayed by jealous courtiers who resented her influence over the king, others believe that she met a sudden, mysterious death, either through treachery or accident. Her untimely demise has left her soul trapped within the walls of the fort, forever wandering its deserted corridors in search of peace. Visitors and local guides alike have reported sightings of a shadowy figure of a woman, dressed in traditional royal attire, gliding silently through the fort's dark alleyways. Those who have seen her describe her as a melancholy presence, whose ghostly form appears and disappears at will. Some have even claimed to hear the faint strains of music or her soft, sorrowful singing, drifting through the air on quiet nights. Her tomb, located within the necropolis of the Qutb Shahi kings near the fort, is said to be another site of paranormal activity. The area around her grave is notorious for cold spots, and visitors have reported an inexplicable feeling of dread and sadness when approaching the site. Some even speak of hearing muffled cries or a faint voice calling out, though no one is ever found nearby. Golconda Fort's association with diamonds, including the legendary Kohinoor, Hope Diamond, and Dari-i-Noor, has added to its haunted lore. The region around the fort was once a thriving center of diamond mining, producing some of the most famous gems in history. But with great wealth came jealousy, greed, and violence. The Kohinoor diamond, in particular, is rumored to carry a curse that brings misfortune to its owners. Legends claim that those who mined, handled, or even guarded these priceless gems met untimely and mysterious deaths. The aura of bloodshed and betrayal surrounding these diamonds is said to have seeped into the very stones of the fort itself, creating an air of foreboding and unease. Visitors to the fort have reported experiencing strange sensations when exploring areas that were once used to store these treasures. Sudden gusts of cold air, disembodied whispers, and the sensation of being watched are common occurrences in these parts of the fort. Some even claim to have seen flickering lights or shadowy figures moving through the treasure chambers, believed to be the spirits of those who died protecting the fort's wealth. Perhaps the most terrifying part of Golconda Fort is its network of dungeons and underground tunnels, where countless prisoners, traitors, and enemies of the state were once held. These dark, damp chambers were the site of some of the most horrific tortures in the fort's history. Prisoners were chained, starved, and subjected to unimaginable cruelty, with many dying under torture or languishing in these pits until death claimed them. It is said that the spirits of these unfortunate souls still haunt the dungeons, reliving their agony and despair. Visitors who have ventured into these underground chambers have reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread and oppression. Some have claimed to hear the clanking of chains, screams of pain, and the sound of footsteps echoing through the tunnels, even though no one else is present. The air in these chambers is often said to be thick with cold spots, and some visitors have left the dungeons with a sense of having been touched or grabbed by unseen hands. The fort's night guards are especially wary of these areas, often refusing to patrol the dungeons after dark, citing encounters with ghostly apparitions of prisoners and dark shadowy figures lurking in the corners. Golconda Fort was once defended by a vast army of loyal soldiers, who gave their lives in defense of the Kutb Shahi rulers. It is believed that the spirits of these warriors continue to patrol the fort, especially around the main gates and the Bala Hissar pavilion. The Bala Hissar, being the highest point of the fort, was once the king's seat of power, and today, it is said to be one of the most haunted areas. Many visitors have reported seeing ghostly figures in ancient armor standing at attention near the fort's gates or pacing along the ramparts, as though still guarding the fort from unseen enemies. These spectral soldiers are often seen during the late evening or early morning hours, when the fort is at its quietest. They are described as silent and solemn, with hollow eyes that seem to stare through anyone who encounters them. Tourists and night watchmen alike have spoken of hearing footsteps, the sound of boots marching, and even the clashing of swords, though no one is around. These phantom soldiers are said to be bound to the fort by duty, their spirits unable to leave their posts, even centuries after their deaths. One of the most frequently reported phenomena at Golconda Fort is the appearance of strange lights that seem to flicker in the distance, often in areas that are completely inaccessible to visitors. These lights are often seen near the fort's ruined palaces, dungeons, and towers, moving slowly through the fort's deserted corridors before disappearing without a trace. Some believe these lights to be ghostly lanterns, carried by the spirits of soldiers or royal attendants who once lived within the fort. In addition to the lights, visitors have reported hearing disembodied voices echoing through the fort's abandoned halls. These voices are often described as murmurs, whispers, or chanting, and seem to emanate from nowhere. Others have claimed to hear the sound of conversations or laughter, as though the fort's royal court still holds session in the dead of night. One particularly chilling experience shared by several visitors is the sound of a woman crying. This is often heard near the former residences of the royal women or the courtesans, and some believe it to be the voice of Taramati, weeping for her lost love and unfulfilled life. The watchman's encounters. The fort's night watchmen, who patrol the grounds after sunset, have their own terrifying encounters to share. Many of them refuse to enter certain parts of the fort after dark, citing encounters with ghostly figures and the unsettling feeling of being followed by unseen entities. One watchman claimed to have seen a shadowy figure of a woman in royal attire, silently gliding through the fort's alleys, only to disappear as he approached. Another spoke of hearing soft footsteps behind him as he patrolled the outer walls, though no one else was around. Some of the watchmen have also reported being approached by phantom soldiers, dressed in ancient armor, who vanish as quickly as they appear. These ghostly figures are often seen standing guard near the gates or walking the fort's ramparts, forever bound to their duty even in death. Golconda Fort may be a magnificent symbol of Hyderabad's history and culture, but it is also a place where the spirits of the past seem to linger, unable to move on from the tragedies, betrayals, and battles that shaped their lives. For those brave enough to explore its haunted halls and dungeons, Golconda Fort offers a glimpse into a world where history, tragedy, and the supernatural exist side by side. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the eerie atmosphere and countless stories of paranormal encounters make Golconda Fort a place that continues to captivate and terrify those who walk its ancient paths.